Commander Elena Reyes stood at the bridge of the Horizon, Earth's most advanced diplomatic vessel, as it approached the crystalline space station that served as the boundary of Australia territory. Her palms were sweaty inside her ceremonial gloves. After 15 years of space exploration, humans had finally encountered an advanced civilization, but initial communications had been tense at best, hostile at worst. "Final approach, Commander," Lieutenant Kaito announced, his voice steadied despite the tension crackling through the bridge. "Australia escorts have locked onto our vessel." Elena nodded, her dark hair pulled back in a tight regulation bun. "Maintain passive scans only. We're guests here, remember that." The Horizon glided toward the massive structure, dwarfed by its sweeping crystalline arms that pulsed with soft blue light. Intelligence had determined the Australia were a matriarchal society with technology centuries beyond Earth's capabilities. They controlled dozens of star systems but had shown little interest in expansion for generations, until humanity's rapid push into space had caught their attention. "They're hailing us," Communications Officer Patel said. "Visual incoming." Elena straightened her uniform and nodded. On screen, the holographic display shimmered to life, revealing a striking figure. Queen Lyra of the Australia Empire sat upon an ornate throne that appeared to be carved from a single massive gemstone. Her skin was pale lavender, with intricate bioluminescent patterns flowing across her temples and down her arms. Eyes with vertical pupils regarded Elena with cool assessment, their color shifting between deep violet and silver. "Commander Reyes of Earth," she spoke, her voice melodious yet authoritative. "You venture far from your homeworld." Elena performed the greeting gesture their xenolinguists had determined was appropriate. "Queen Lyra, we thank you for allowing this audience. Earth seeks peaceful dialogue between our peoples." The Queen's head tilted slightly, those remarkable eyes narrowing. "Curious. Your species has a complicated history with peace, does it not? Our observations suggest humans often speak of harmony while preparing for conflict." Elena felt her crew stiffen around her. The Australia had clearly been studying humanity for some time. "We are an imperfect species, Your Majesty," Elena acknowledged, "but one committed to learning from our mistakes. We've overcome many of our divisions to reach the stars." "Yet you come in a vessel armed with weapons," Lyra countered. "As is yours," Elena replied, surprising herself with her boldness. "Space is vast and not always welcoming. Preparedness is not the same as aggression." An unexpected ripple of what might have been amusement crossed the Queen's face. She leaned forward, those vertical pupils dilating slightly. "You speak directly, Commander. Refreshing, if unexpected." Lyra rose from her throne, her flowing garments shimmering with embedded light. "I will receive you aboard our station. You may bring 2 officers. Unarmed." Elena knew this wasn't a request. "Understood, Your Majesty." After the transmission ended, the bridge erupted in nervous chatter. "Commander, security protocols suggest," began Security Chief Dmitri. Elena raised a hand. "I know the protocols. But this is our chance to establish relations with a civilization that could either become our greatest ally or..." She left the alternative unspoken. As the Horizon docked with the Australia station, Elena chose her landing party carefully, Dr. Marquez, their xenoanthropologist, and Lieutenant Kaito for his unflappable calm. As they prepared to board, Elena caught her reflection in a polished panel. Behind her professional demeanor, she couldn't deny a flutter of something beyond diplomatic duty, a feeling she hadn't experienced in years. Something about Queen Lyra had awakened her curiosity in ways that went far beyond her mission parameters. Stepping onto the alien station, Elena Reyes knew that humanity's future might well depend on the connection she formed with the enigmatic Queen of the Stars. Part 2, The Challenge. The Australia Royal Chamber stunned Elena with its beauty, walls of living crystal that seemed to breathe with light, reflecting the cosmos outside. Queen Lyra stood at its center, her posture regal as she observed the human delegation with unconcealed curiosity. "Your species fascinates us, Commander," Lyra said, circling Elena slowly. "So fragile, yet so determined. Tell me, what drives humans to reach beyond their natural limitations?" Elena felt the Queen's gaze like a physical touch. Curiosity. Connection. The belief that we're not meant to be alone in the universe. Lyra's lips curved. Poetic sentiments. Yet your history suggests other motives. Before Elena could respond, a ceremonial attendant approached with a tray bearing crystal goblets filled with luminescent liquid. Following Dr. Marquez's subtle nod, Elena accepted one. To new understandings, Lyra raised her goblet. Elena mirrored the gesture but hesitated before drinking. Something in Lyra's expression suggested anticipation. Taking a calculated risk, Elena brought the goblet to her lips but merely pretended to sip. The chamber fell silent. Attendants froze in place. Lyra's vertical pupils contracted to thin slits. "You refuse our sacred offering?" The Queen's voice had dropped dangerously. "Such rejection is considered a grave insult." Lieutenant Kaito tensed beside her, hand instinctively moving toward his empty holster. "Not rejection, Your Majesty," Elena responded calmly. "Caution. Our biologies are different. What nourishes you might harm me." For a long moment, tension crackled between them. Then, unexpectedly, Lyra laughed, a musical sound that seemed to ripple through the crystal walls. "Clever human. You're right to be cautious, this nectar would indeed have caused you a discomfort." She moved closer, close enough that Elena could catch her exotic scent, like night-blooming flowers in ozone. "But you've also inadvertently challenged my authority. Among my people, such an act requires restitution." "What form of restitution?" Elena asked, maintaining eye contact despite their proximity. "A series of trials," Lyra replied, her voice lowering to something almost intimate. 3 challenges to prove your worth, and humanity's. Succeed, and we'll consider alliance. Fail. Her hand raised, delicate fingers tracing the air near Elena's cheek without touching. "Failure has consequences, Commander." Elena felt heat rise to her face. "I accept your challenge, Queen Lyra." That night, alone in her assigned quarters, Elena analyzed the encounter. The diplomatic briefings hadn't prepared her for Lyra's intensity, for the strange tension between them. As she prepared for sleep, a holographic message appeared above her bed. "Your first trial begins at dawn," Lyra's image announced. "Prepare yourself, Commander. Few outsiders have survived what awaits you." The message faded, but not before Elena caught what might have been a smile playing at the Queen's lips. Elena lay awake, wondering if the heat between them was strategic manipulation or something more dangerous, attraction across an interstellar divide. Blood trickled from a cut on Elena's forehead as she completed the second trial, a combat simulation against Australi warriors that tested both strength and strategy. To her surprise, Queen Lyra waited at the arena's edge, dismissing her attendants with a gesture. "You fight well for a human," Lyra observed, approaching with a regenerative cloth. "Most expected you to fail by now." Elena accepted the cloth, wincing as it sealed her wound. "Disappointing your subjects?" "Perhaps," Lyra admitted, her characteristic coldness momentarily absent. "Walk with me, Commander." They moved through a bioluminescent garden where plants responded to their presence, blooming and curling as they passed. Elena noticed the Queen maintained precise distance between them, close enough for private conversation, yet carefully avoiding contact. "Why did you become a space explorer?" Lyra asked unexpectedly. Elena considered deflecting with a diplomatic answer but chose honesty instead. "My parents died when our colony was destroyed by a cosmic storm. I wanted to understand the forces that took them, to make space safer for humanity." Lyra stopped beside a pool reflecting distant stars. The Australi have lost much to space's dangers as well. Before we developed our protective technologies, entire settlements vanished. Then we share common ground, Elena suggested. Lyra's expression softened. Perhaps. Though my advisors warn me your species cannot be trusted, that you'll take our knowledge and use it against us. And what do you believe? Lyra studied her, those remarkable eyes shifting hues. I haven't decided yet. Later that night, during a formal dinner celebrating Elena's progress, a militant faction of Australi made their dissatisfaction known. Ambassador Vex, a senior advisor, openly challenged Lyra's judgment. These humans will bring corruption and violence to our domains, he proclaimed. History shows they destroy what they cannot control. Elena watched Lyra's response carefully. The Queen seemed troubled, caught between tradition and potential change. When Elena returned to her quarters, she found Lyra waiting, an unprecedented breach of protocol. Your final trial has changed, Lyra announced without preamble. Vex and his supporters grow dangerous. They question not just our potential alliance but my fitness to rule. What do you need from me? Elena asked. Lyra moved closer than she ever had before. Understanding. My position demands isolation, yet I find myself. She hesitated, intrigued by you, Commander. The admission hung between them, charged with possibility. Elena felt her heart race as Lyra's hand finally, deliberately touched hers, skin-to-skin contact that sent an electric current through her body. The final trial will test not just your strength or intelligence, Lyra whispered, but your capacity for connection across differences. Are you prepared for that? Elena intertwined her fingers with the Queen's, crossing a boundary she knew could never be uncrossed. I am. The Royal Observatory Dome offered panoramic views of swirling nebulae and distant stars, but Elena barely noticed. Her attention was fixed on the strategic display showing Ambassador Vex's forces seizing control of key station sectors. He's moved faster than anticipated, Lyra observed, her usual composure frayed. Vex has been planning this coup for months. Our connection merely accelerated his timeline. 3 days had passed since their first intimate encounter, 3 days of diplomatic meetings by day and passionate exploration by night. What had begun as curiosity had transformed into something neither of them had expected, genuine affection across species barriers. The horizon can extract us, Elena suggested, studying the tactical display. My crew remains loyal. Fleeing would confirm his propaganda that I've been compromised by human influence, Lyra countered. We must face this directly. A communication alert interrupted them. Vex's angular face appeared, expression triumphant. Surrender, Lyra. Your infatuation with this primitive species has proven your unworthiness to rule. Elena watched Lyra transform, vulnerability vanishing beneath queenly authority. You mistake diplomacy for weakness, Vex. The Australi Council will never support your xenophobic vision. The Council will have no choice once I demonstrate the human threat, Vex replied smoothly. Commander Rhea's vessel harbors weapons designed to penetrate our defenses, information extracted from your own security files. Elena felt cold realization settle in her stomach. He's going to attack the horizon. After Vex's transmission ended, they moved quickly. Using maintenance tunnels known only to the royal family, Lyra led them toward the docking bays. Your crew is in danger, Lyra explained as they hurried through crystalline passages. Vex needs them eliminated to justify his coup. Why risk yourself for my people? Elena asked, breathless from their pace. Lyra paused, those remarkable eyes meeting Elena's with naked emotion. Because I've seen your mind, felt your heart. You've changed me, Elena Reyes. Her hand caressed Elena's cheek. Perhaps this was always my final trial, discovering whether I could overcome centuries of isolation to recognize kinship beyond my species. Their kiss was brief but fierce, a promise amidst chaos. The battle that followed tested both leaders. Elena's combat training complemented Lyra's bioenergetic abilities as they fought their way to the communications hub. Working together, they managed to warn the Horizon and seal off Vex's access to the weapons systems. Cornered in the central chamber, Vex launched his final attack. As energy bolts sizzled past them, Elena saw one aimed directly at Lyra's unprotected back. Without hesitation, she threw herself into its path, the impact sending her crashing to the floor. Through pain-blurred vision, Elena witnessed Lyra's fury, the Queen unleashing powers she'd kept carefully controlled, incapacitating Vex and his remaining followers with concentrated energy that left them paralyzed. Then Lyra was kneeling beside her, tears like liquid crystals falling onto Elena's uniform. "Foolish human," she whispered, hands glowing as she attempted to stabilize Elena's injuries. "Why would you sacrifice yourself?" Elena smiled through pain. "Isn't that what people do, when they love someone?" The Australia healing chamber hummed with energy as Elena regained consciousness. Her body felt strange, lighter somehow, yet more vibrant. Opening her eyes, she found Lyra seated beside her, looking simultaneously regal and exhausted. "Welcome back, Commander," Lyra said, formal title belied by the tenderness in her voice. "You've been unconscious for 3 cycles." Elena attempted to sit up, surprised when her body responded without pain. "The rebellion? Contained. Vex and his co-conspirators have been removed from power." Lyra's fingers intertwined with Elena's. "Your crew distinguished themselves during the conflict. Lieutenant Kaito's tactical assistance proved invaluable." "And us?" Elena asked, voicing the question that mattered most. Lyra's expression softened. "That depends on what you desire. The Australia Council has approved preliminary alliance negotiations with Earth, but—" She hesitated. "My personal interest in their representative complicates matters." Elena smiled. "Diplomatic relationships often have personal dimensions." "Not quite like ours," Lyra countered, a rare hint of humor coloring her voice. "There are biological considerations. To heal your injuries, we initiated partial genetic harmonization. You remain human, but with certain Australia adaptations." Elena looked down at her arms, noticing subtle luminescent patterns beneath her skin, faint echoes of Lyra's markings. "Is this permanent?" "Yes. It allows us greater physiological compatibility, among other benefits." Lyra's gaze became intense. "You'll live longer than ordinary humans." "Much longer." The implication settled over Elena like a mantle, both gift and responsibility. "The Alliance can benefit from liaisons who understand both worlds," Lyra finished. "If that's what you want." 1 month later, representatives from Earth and the Australia Empire gathered to witness the signing of the historic Horizon Accords. Elena stood beside Lyra, now wearing dual insignia, Earth's diplomatic corps and the Royal Australia emblem. As the ceremony concluded, they slipped away to the observatory dome where their relationship had deepened during the rebellion. The stars seemed brighter somehow, full of new possibilities. "Having second thoughts?" Lyra asked, sensing Elena's contemplative mood. "No," Elena replied honestly. "Just appreciating the irony. I came to establish diplomatic relations, not fall in love with an alien queen." Lyra's laughter echoed through the chamber. "And I expected to teach humans their place in the cosmos, not bind my life to one." Their kiss deepened, bodies harmonizing as they had learned to do over weeks of discovery. Elena felt the genetic changes within her responding to Lyra's touch, her skin glowing with bioluminescence that matched her lover's patterns. Later, lying together in the Queen's private chambers, Elena traced the intricate markings on Lyra's bare shoulder. "What happens now?" "We build something new," Lyra murmured against her skin. "Neither fully human nor fully Australia, but stronger for the combination." Outside their window, the first joint human-Australia research vessel prepared for launch, its mission to explore regions previously considered too dangerous for either species alone. Its name, visible in glowing script along the hull, symbolized their shared future, convergence. Elena pulled Lyra closer, their bodies fitting together in ways that defied biological expectation. Her rebellion against protocol had risked everything, but the Queen's punishment, trials that tested not just strength but capacity for connection, had revealed something neither civilization had anticipated, that the stars themselves seemed to have designed them for each other.